terms with all of them.
Remember me?
Yes,
You didn't let me tell my story.
yes, yes.
It's very brief. In 1921, I appeared in the world as the daughter of Isabel and Henry Sprisler. Nothing, no church bells, nothing. I was there, and I had a big dent in my head because the obstetrician had a hard time pulling me out, so going off verses. I'll show you the dent. But anyway, fortunately, it wasn't in my face. I mean, it wasn't a tragedy. It was a bump that I can tuck a little something into if I
Should have
may.
had a C-section.
Oh, I should have had a C-section.
You should have had a C-section.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was a long time ago, and there was a
You
high
know the
mortality
obstetrician
rate.
too, tell about the
Oh, yeah.
obstetrician.
My obstetrician, and only you would tend to say, well, why don't they have a decent obstetrician? My obstetrician was John F. Kennedy's obstetrician.
Really?
Yeah.
My goodness.
He took care of all the Kennedys.
And 19 years later, I was in the operating room helping, and I said, Dr. Heffernan, do you know that I was your baby 21 years ago or 19 years ago? He said, who are you? What's your name? I said, Muriel Sprisler. And he said, come here. He said, you didn't need to leave a trademark on me. But Muriel had a very unexciting, my greatest accomplishments were riding a two-person bike. What do you call those?
Tandem.
What?
Tandem.
Tandem, yeah. Around Fenway Park and skating on the ice in Boston, Public Gardens, Public Gardens, yeah. And really, I had a very ordinary
I
life.
used to listen to the concerts.
Oh, yeah, we
And
used
who
to.
was the man that?
Arthur Fiedler, do you know?
Arthur Fiedler.
Oh, yeah.
And we were invited to Arthur Fiedler's house,
Yeah.
personal guest, because the son-in-law was one of my interns. That's how we got there. So we were at an inn with Arthur Fiedler.
And to Murray, I had an aunt, just like your aunt. She didn't have any children, and my sister and I were her only nieces, and we got the gravy. She was such a good aunt. And, you know, you just never forget those experiences and the dedication of people who really don't need to support you or worry about you, because our parents were very good to us. But they were modestly, they were sufficiently, I'm losing words. This happens to me. It was sufficiently, and they had enough money to take care of us, but there were lots of extra credits because of Aunt Lucy, who just adored us. And so it's nice to be adored, isn't it?
About those romantic voyages we used to take on the boat.
Oh, we have to tell you about that. We went to Nantasket Beach, and they had a crummy boat with gypsies on it. They played violin and did sort of things that were romantic. Didn't recognize music, didn't recognize the language, but I was having a wonderful time there. He and I were playing kissy face like everyone else. I didn't know whether my neighbors were there, but I was sure they were not. I felt free. And we would go down, and I love the smell of the place. It was sea ocean, that wonderful salty, and the dampness of the wharf, it had another fragrance. Well, it was a fragrance, it wasn't a smell. And that's one of the memories I hold in my mind more clearly than a lot of other things. So it's funny, the things that impress you. If I get homesick, I think, oh, I wish I could sit on the piazza and smell the water from the ocean. So it makes me lonely. Well, anyway.
So,
Stop it, Muriel. Stop
Raising 8 kids.
it. Yeah,
What was it like raising 8 kids?
tremendous. I really loved raising my children. I won't say I was never cross, but I just loved that job I had. I really did. they were sweet, and they would, you know, when some little kid looks up and says, "I love you, Mom," you know, that kind of melts your heart, no matter what they've done during the day. So, I don't know, it was a privilege. It was a privilege, and they are a great joy now, too. I can think of so many wonderful things. Of course, it hasn't been without dark moments, but at least he's a pretty good support for me. He's my wailing wall.
I would say that when I grew up as a child, my dad always read the Bible every morning. The kids had to assemble there every morning and listen. Usually it was Proverbs or it was Psalms.
And he used to pray for all the ships at sea.
Yeah, he used to play for
That
the
was a
ships at
Canadian
sea.
prayer, I think.
And so that was a routine through all my childhood and until my adult life. So we did the same thing in Rochester. And
Yeah,
also,
Rochester.
we did the same thing every morning. Got all the kids up about 7 o'clock, and we read the Bible together. And after a while, there got to be so many kids, and they had so many different avenues they had to take care of, and I had to be there at the scrub sink at 7 o'clock in the morning. So it got to be kind of a difficult problem. So we by necessity had to stop it at that time.
We had good instruction. They went to the church school, and I think they had a good understanding. It wasn't as ecumenical a time. I mean, being of a certain denomination, like, we were Congregationalists. That's a New England group. I mean, I don't think many people know that most of the Protestants in New England are Congregations. It's sort of like Methodists, I think, a little less probably rigid, if that's not the right term, about purer, a little purer.
So we've had a lot of many blessings for which we're very thankful, and right now we do have a problem with one of our grandchildren who has glioma of the brain, a malignant tumor of the brain, and she is out in California, and she's had radiation therapy and chemotherapy for treatment, so that's a source of concern for us, but we trust that the results will be reasonable. Otherwise, anything else that you want to?
Oh, lots, but I don't know if these.
How about hiding your chocolate?
Any questions? We're supposed to ask for questions.
can we-
How many
You said we're
grandchildren do you
supposed
have?
to.
Oh, I
And
have.
so if they have any questions, you can ask.
David
Time for
asked how
questions.
many grandchildren we have. How many grandchildren?
I didn't count them all.
A lot. We'll have those figures for you later. Like in
Who's the statistician here? They're gonna figure it out. That had an adding machine.
Who's your smartest grandchild?
Yeah, well,
We'll go
we
there.
have to, he's here tonight.
Is it?
Muriel, we know Bill grew up with a bunch of sisters. How many siblings? You grew up in Boston?
I grew up right in Boston.
Right in Boston? And how
Well,
many siblings?
Dorchester, which now is a ghetto, but it was a perfectly normal community when I grew up. What was your other
sibling.
question?
Your siblings.
Barbara Walters.
Your brothers and sisters.
I had one sister,
One sister.
so it was a very different family composition.
She older than you, a little older, or younger?
2 years older.
2 years older, so close.
Yeah, she was very different from me, but we always got along well. You didn't have a choice. We shared the
And they both had Sjogren's syndrome. And no one else in the whole genealogical group that we know ever had Sjogren's syndrome.
I don't,
So
if, for
why-
those
why
who don't
perhaps
understand, I do want them to know it's not a social disease. Now,
I think we better end our.
I'm protecting you.
How many years have you been married?
63.
Oh,
Short years.
Short years, my dear.
Tonight? We do argue once in a while. I do not want to think that we're perfect. But he's good. He knows I'm crazy and he knows I'm a little crazy. I know he's a little crazy. And we recognize each other's craziness in life.
She was a
Every once in a
dynamo.
while we don't. But he does have a rule, don't go to bed mad. And it really bothers my conscience if I even am sullen when I go to bed. So. Oh, I wanted to tell you one thing. Oh, about that lady in the theater. Then I told you she was so absolutely enthralled with someone on the other side. And so I looked at what she was looking, and there was this gorgeous woman. And I got madder and madder and madder. So I thought, I don't know how I'm going to handle this. So I said, that was a very pretty lady you were sitting next to. In a real friendly tone, different kind of look. So he quickly apologized, and I thought I shouldn't have done that. He was entitled to look. Don't touch. She was beautiful.
She was a dynamo, though, raising these kids. She was a tremendous driver of her car. One time I noticed in those there, I got up early in the morning. I've taken off to Chicago. And I thought, well, no, it was Madison.
Yeah, it was
It was
Madison.
Madison. I've taken off, which was about 100 miles away. And I thought, well, she just got in the car and went, and she went out there to check on one of the girls because she phoned one of them and they didn't answer the phone.
Oh, 3 days.
Well, I wonder what happened. They didn't answer the phone. So she took off, knocked on the door, and Dee Dee says, "Oh, who's there?" You know. Well, then she turned around, headed back home again, and went to work.
I used
So
to
she
be
was
crazy.
really a.
I'm overprotective of my
Take care of
children.
all. And
Yeah,
then you were a chauffeur for all the kids in the
Yeah,
neighborhood.
I felt they were safer with me than.
Meet the first time? What
Oh.
were you doing?
Oh, I know. There were 5 nurses sitting on a bench, and we all had shorts and tennis racket. We meant nothing, absolutely nothing. All terrible players. And just all for show. And he said at that time that he thought that girl in the middle isn't smoking. If I ask any of them, I'll ask her. I won. Wasn't that it was good looking, it wasn't that I was short, it was that I didn't smoke. So remember, little things count.
Early cancer.
But I bet if you had not been good looking and exceptionally well formed in shorts, even if you hadn't been smoking, he probably wouldn't have asked for it.
Okay. Why
I
is
bet
that?
the looks had a lot to do with it.
Yes.
Oh, is that a compliment?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm so old, nobody ever said anything about that.
Still
Get on the
very
scale.
evident.
I mean, you gained a pound. You shouldn't be doing that. You're fatter. No, they're not all mean, but they are busy. That's my only complaint. There are too many people for the few doctors there are. You know, don't you ever resent it? You go and you get there to be on time, And you get there and you sit for 2 hours.
Take a book.
No one says, I'm sorry for wasting your time. They should say things like that. Because you'd probably start a fight. I bet you are. I've been sitting here for 2 hours. What was my appointment?